Welcome and thank you for choosing freeconferencecall.com. You're helping people around the world communicate for free. Please enter your access code followed by the pound or hash sign. If you are the host, press star now. Otherwise, please wait and you will be joined into the conference. Please announce yourself.
Experience. Time passing. All right. Terry, are you in? If you don't have holy tablets or a link to them that I sent you, then go on Google and type in holy tablets, comma, mute your phone, comma, Malachi York, comma, PDF. Type in holy tablets, comma, Malachi York, comma, PDF, and it will take you right there. But when I send you all links to the INJIYL and holy tablets as a gift, you need to keep those and put them in your favorites so you can go right to it. Give Harry a piece of paper and pen. Get it. Yeah, you can hear me, but I can't hear you. Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Remember when you said that?
Go ahead,
okay,
sister.
Go on.
I was gonna say, remember when you was talking about how this was gonna be the hottest summer?
Yes.
And that people were gonna be dying.
Yes.
So I saw like on the news how like in France about like over like thousands of people were like dying over there because of the heat.
Right. That's right. That's because Shemaz.
Yes, I want to say.
I love you. The Son of Light is a very good point to make. All right, Terry, if you can speak up now. Yes. I want to say that my longtime student, Terry Handy, came here from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, to spend time with me again. I love him. And mute your phone. And what it is, I had all these experts in the Wabians come in here like Khufu, messing up everything with the computers, didn't do nothing but delete my emails and didn't help the computer at all. I asked them one thing. Please put on a program that I can download videos and audio and edit them, and that's it. Okay. And that I could edit them and then burn them on DVD and CD disc. And all that knowledge he's supposed to have, he didn't do nothing. He came here and made 2 or 3 trips and didn't do nothing, but kept getting all my scriptures and outfits and doing everything, giving me 2 computers that was game computers that I can't even use for nothing. But Terry came here, and he put those programs on there right away, and now I can edit CDs and DVDs and classes and everything thanks to him. So I'd like everybody to please thank Terry Handy right now, please. He's sitting right here.
Thank you so much, Terry. I appreciate all your help and effort.
Thank you, Terry.
Thank you. Much love and light.
Terry. Terry.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, Terry.
All right. Now, Terry, go ahead.
Yeah, I had also, thank y'all. I had my phone on mute, so thank y'all for, I try to help as much as I can. But anyway, I had a spiritual experience also, but this happened a long time ago. But I'm going to tell you anyway, because I just thought about it when I was talking with Brother AMUN. So anyway, I had my car parked in front of the house, slightly up a little ramp. And I was sitting there with my 3 kids. My youngest son was about 5 years old at the time, and the other 2 was a couple years older than him. But I forgot something inside, so I left the car running and went inside to get something. and my youngest son, the 5-year-old, kicked my car into neutral, where it can roll on into the street. But when he kicked it into neutral, the car didn't roll on the street. It started rolling real slow. And my two older sons had screamed, "Daddy, Daddy!" The car's moving and going into the street. So I ran from outside and jumped in the car and was able to hit the brakes before it got to the street. But the car wasn't moving at all. I mean, it was moving like a real slow, like a snail almost.
Like a spiritual intervention.
Like somebody was holding it back. Like some spirits was holding the car from going in the street. So I helped him jump in the car and hit the brakes and put it back in park. And then the next day, I was sitting in the car and I started the engine and put it in neutral and let my foot the brakes to test it. And the car went flying in the street real fast. I hit my brakes real quick. But the day before, they didn't do that. My kids in the car. So
that's right. That's the most high. But you're a real good brother. But now, what about your grandfather?
Oh, my grandfather was in California. When I was young, I was about maybe 10 years old at the time, or 12, something like that. My grandfather was out of town on vacation with his wife, my grandmother, but they was in California, and I was in New Orleans at the time. But I was at his house, sleeping in his bed at the time when he was in California. And then the phone had rung next door by my aunt. As soon as that phone rung, I knew something happened to my grandfather. I say somebody died. He must have passed away. I could feel it. So I was sleeping in his bed. And soon as that phone rung next door, that's just what happened. They called to say that my grandfather passed in California. But I was sleeping in his bed when it happened and felt that he died, felt that he passed away.
I know that's possible because I felt it when my grandmother passed, yeah. But I also want to interject, thank you, Terry. I want to interject that everybody that's sending money on Cash App, making donations to me in any kind of way, I want you to send me an email with a testimony on it and tell me how much you've been sending me because I want to bless you all and I need your address, your mailing address as well. You hear me? That's important for you all to know because I don't just appreciate what you do. I want you to know it and feel it, right? Okay. Now, who had that first question?
Hey, well,
I have two questions.
Well, I got a question I want to ask.
Yes. Go ahead, sister.
Okay, my first question is, where do we donate to? If you could send that to my email, then
you donate to the Cash App. Can somebody tell her how to do it, please? Asar, are you here? And I got a message for Asar and Bess. Are you here, Bess?
Yes, we here.
Yes, I am.
Okay, I want to say I haven't forgotten. I told Asar the other night, I have not nearly forgotten about our weight loss. I just got preoccupied with a lot of things. But I'm back on it, and I'm going to look out for you and him and me in that regard. Do you hear me?
Yeah, thank you, Messiah.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Go ahead, Terry.
I got a question. I was watching something on YouTube a while back, and it was trying to explain the evolution of mankind, and it showed that we came from start off as some kind of animal or a bacteria, and we evolved from one thing to another, and we end up being human beings later. It even showed us change from got to an alligator at one time and changed to a human, but I don't see how that can make any sense. I'm trying to find out how did we evolve, or were we other than human at one time, or we was always just human in the evolve process?
All right. Your spirit was always an angelic host, fully mature, right? But now, as far as your physical composition, a long time ago, there was a crash. Mute your phones. There was a crash with Nibiru doing planetary shopping, speeding through the universe, and it magnetized through the tetrahedron science the four winds, and which one of them, when getting close to Earth, hit the Earth and made a hole in the center of it to create Shambhala Nagartha with a 600-mile diameter sun, but the other disk carved out the Grand Canyon and then skipped off the planet back into space, right? Now, if you go to present-day archaeologists that have studied things like archaeology, they'll go to the Grand Canyons and they'll get a special chair with ropes on it, and they'll sit in it, and they'll propel them all the way down to the bottom of the Grand Canyon to the Snake River. But as they're descending, they're going through strata, like the rings on trees, through layers of strata, which is just like you count the age of the tree. Every time you drop down through another layer of strata, you're going back through time. When they get to the bottom, they start digging fossil record out, and they see way back then that only thing on Earth was bacteria and protozoa and amoeba and little small plankton and things like that. But if they start pulling them back up and they start reascending up the walls of the Grand Canyon, up the layers, they start seeing they start developing the multicellular creatures, and they get more complex, and they start going up another million years, and they'll develop into amphibians and fish and this, that, and the other, right? And they bring them up another year, another million or 2 million, 10 million years, and through tidal waves and tidal waves, tsunamis, a lot of these sea creatures get swept up on land, like the whale. That was a fish, but it got swept up on land, and because it had lungs and could breathe like a mammal, it started trying to move around the earth, and it was hard, so the fins started developing into legs. And right now today, the whale has appendages that you can x-ray them and see the knees and hip bones and all that the whale had legs before, right? And that happened with a lot of different sea creatures, like the alligator that he mentioned of, that they got swept up because they still have tails like fish and what have you, and they still are, mostly amphibious, live in water. But they have lungs, and they have to have oxygen to breathe, but they develop legs through the same process. And over time, for example, the Earth was in a very hot stage back then when it was first created, and the vapor rings dropped. The soil was very soft and swamp-like, so that the creatures, like the horse, the prehistoric horse, used to be tall like the horse we have today. But through natural selection, the taller horses with the hoof feet started dying out because the predators, like the saber-toothed tiger, they shoot to catch them, you understand? But so the horses got smaller and smaller, about 3 feet tall, and they developed webbed feet. So it was just designed for them to be able to run over the swamps and stay up without submerging and getting stuck. So the saber-toothed tiger still had paws, and they would sink. So they developed into a 3.5-foot horse. But it was the same horse you have today. It had the same molecular structure, but it was only superficial surface modification. The same way that bats, which is a bird and a rat, they're nocturnal and live in caves. They went in there with vision, but they stayed in the dark so long, their eyes, like a person sitting in a wheelchair for 10 years and trying to get up and walk, and then they fall, the bat's eyes atrophied, and they became blind because from lack of use, not because they didn't have eyes, right? So now, as time went on and they start pulling him up in the chair more and more, you start seeing them develop into more and more sophisticated animals and mammals until you got all the way up to the top layers just about, and they evolved into apes and monkeys, you know what I mean? Primates. And that's 2 words. That's prime mates, right? So they developed, and Darwin, with his theory of evolution, he said, because he couldn't understand it, because all of a sudden in the 600-year period, they evolved, and the fossil records showed that they went from monkeys swinging in trees to almost overnight, there was human beings building pyramids and sophisticated architecture and growing sophisticated crops and agriculture and science and using 3-dimensional hologramic and also laser beams and lodestones for levitation and all this intricate, intelligent things in a 600-year period. And they know it takes millions of years for a creature to evolve like that. So what he called that in his book, The Missing Link, because he couldn't figure out how they jumped from monkeys to building pyramids in a 600, like basically overnight, right? But what it was is that through the intervention of the Anunnaki and other extraterrestrial races, but primarily Anunnaki, they came to Earth. And then they were here to collect gold to repair a depleted ozone layer on their home world because it was being violated by the triple suns, the ultraviolet rays penetrated and poisoned the Earth that they lived on. So for their self-preservation, they need to get a substance they call NU, or gold, and the gold in this land on this earth was good. And they were digging for the gold and mining it, but it was too slow, and the elders demanded the load be kept up with. So they threw their tools down in rebellion and said they refused to work because all those brothers and sisters were very sophisticated intellects. So the four main scientists, Mother Ninti, Mamie, Ariska Gale, Shah Rester, and Enki, he was the head scientist. Enki stepped up and said, we need to find another creature to take our place. And he said, I've flown all over this planet, and I saw a creature here that would be ideal for genetic hangar. And so they had a 600-year project, and they set up laboratories they call Shemti in Egypt, on the dark side of the moon, and on Mars. And there, they had 100 years out of 600 years for collecting species. They would go out and collect all these apes, the lairs, chimpanzees, orangutans, etc., and chimpanzees. And they would bring them all in, and then they had another 400 years for genetic manipulation, where they would take the egg out of the ape woman and put it in the petri dish, and then they would bind it on the tilt with a very intelligent canal digger named Gastu. They went into his bone marrow and got the tumor out of it and mixed it into that egg until the culture started growing. Then one of the scientists, Mamie by name, Mother Ninti they called her, she volunteered her womb for in vitro fertilization. And they placed that culture on the walls of her womb, and they did this 7 times, but they always came out imperfect. Until Enki tried 7 experiments, and he finally came out with Homo sapien, right? Not Homo erectus, but Homo sapien. And he did such a good job that when you stand, like I said, the naked man that he had made, or the naked woman that he had made next to the Anunnaki woman and the man next to the Anunnaki male, you couldn't tell a difference in them. They created man. That's why the Bible says, let us, extraterrestrial race, create man in our image and in our likeness. That's where the plurality comes from. Except for the male, he had extended skin on his penis, foreskin, so they developed the law of circumcision. And then the men and women look just like the Elohim, like the Anunnaki, right? And that's how they created human beings out of fish and small things like that. You okay? Did you have another question? All right. Anybody have a question about that or anything else?
AMUN, I got a question.
Yes.
What does it mean if you come across Divina Love? I know you've mentioned her before, like it's saying
it would mean that you're vibrating on the high. It means that you're blessed and vibrating on the high frequency.